Hello, welcome to the Hot Seat. I'm here with Professor Martin Lodge to discuss the recent FIFA saga. Welcome, Martin. So first of all, what have we learned from the saga so far?
Well, I think we've learned three things. One is we learned about actual sort of activities which have come to light through these US-based investigations, but also through the leaking of various other documents and the statements of various individuals who now come to the fore to claim payments or allegations of payments. The second thing we've learned is basically that all these rumors about FIFA and the events or mega events at large have been rather accurate rather than just allegations. And I think the third thing, what we have learned or got to understand even better, is how these international events and organizations work. And that is basically they create political machines equivalent to the 19th century US politics, where basically these events provide for resources in order to advance clientelistic relationships in local contexts.
And so why has it been allowed to continue for so long and get to the level that it has?
I think it has been because partly it is an international private organization, so in that sense it is very difficult for state actors or for other sort of people to access the governance arrangements. Secondly, I think it's also because the resource of commercialization of these events have increased so much that basically too many people had too much of a stake in these kind of processes. And thirdly, I think there's been also a rather magnificent dependency relationship exactly in these clientelistic relationships in FIFA, which have maintained these kind of practices for quite some time.
So why have all of the allegations finally come to light, and what's lifted the lid on the goings on at FIFA?
Well, that is basically a long-term 3-year investigation in the US, which basically allows these rather powerful legal provisions in the US to basically impose legal kind of provisions outside their own territory. And that is why some of the key arguments at the moment are all about highlighting how central the alleged corruption practices or the payment practices have been by basically going through US-based banks or by using the US media market, which has been quite lucrative for these payments.
So what started those investigations off in the first place?
I think sort of a long-standing kind of concern, but I think also the investigations in the US about the corrupt practices, concern about basically, you might say, the payment of TV license fees for World Cup payments, or for regional qualifiers, I should rather say. So all of these, I think, have basically generated this kind of interest and then ultimately also the willingness of individuals to basically come forward to avoid larger legal sanctions.
So why was it that Blatter agreed or stated his intention to stand down so soon after his re-election?
I think he realized that basically his investigations got ever closer to him. He wanted to basically take away the criticism of his position, and to basically, and he announced again that he might do a U-turn again and stand again or remain in office. So I think it was largely to take the heat out of the debate, plus I think also increasingly investigations have come ever closer to him, and therefore he is avoiding, or he couldn't avoid, the criticism anymore by relying on a sort of a ring of supporters around him.
One of the other most high-profile individuals involved so far is Jack Warner. So what does the Jack Warner case tell us about the whole FIFA saga?
Well, I think Jack Warner is an amazing politician and entrepreneur. He has played a rather interesting role in regional football associations. He has been, was found to have been printing extra tickets for a World Cup qualifier played in Trinidad. He's been involved in regional sort of CONCACAF and the FIFA executive since the 1980s and later on. So I think here you've got a kind of the perfect example, possibly one of the most high-profile example of someone who's been using his contacts, who's been basically using resources to basically buy support or to arrange support, to use even local politics for his own basically power base. For a while he was National Security Minister of Trinidad at the same time as he was acting with FIFA. So he is basically the perfect example of the clientelistic politics, as a machine politics that FIFA does. It advances local politicians or entrepreneurs basically by using the patronage in their context, while at the same time providing for these large-scale mega events and spectacles, basically.
So has the FIFA involvement in national politics spread beyond Jack Warner? Is it a systemic issue?
Well, we will have to see that, but I think I'm not quite even sure whether FIFA knew about Jack Warner's involvement of, well, at least his allegation that he gave money to the currently governing party in Trinidad. We also have to see, somewhat separate from FIFA but related, that Trinidad is going through an election campaign this autumn, and there will be an election this autumn, where basically Jack Warner will want to stand with his own party and try to damage the two more dominant parties. So in that sense, many of these allegations around that particular kind of event has to be understood in the context of Trinidadian politics rather than FIFA at large. But it's of course clear that the large-scale resources for mega events such as the World Cup or even Youth World Cups, which have to do with then procurement and stadiums, have all repercussions for local politics, for the reassertion of dominant kind of political economic structures, yes.
So what are the implications going forward for all of this?
Well, there will be, one may assume, a debate about governance arrangements, not just of FIFA, but I think of all football associations. I mean, I think the regional associations equally may have a sort of a case to provide for reform. So in many ways, the argument or the pressure is a complete removal of all leaders in football associations, regional and FIFA internationally, complete replacement, the need to provide for, you might say, new type of independent watchdogs over these organizations, unlike the investigation that previously was conducted, so no conflict of interest. There will need to be a far more open, you might say, process over the allocation of World Cup locations.
Right, thank you very much, Martin. You're off the hot seat.
Thank you.